Clinton's main Democratic rival in the presidential race is currently Bernie Sanders. He is with us this morning. Sanders is ahead of Clinton in Iowa and in New Hampshire. The Vermont senator calls himself a Democratic socialist. Thousands attend his rallies. His platform calls for ending income inequality. He sees answers in universal health care, free public college, and paid family leave. He is on the cover of this week's Time magazine, and we're pleased to have him here in Studio 57. Welcome.
Good to be with you.
You're doing something right, obviously.
Yep.
We want to talk about you and how you define yourself. People talk about socialist and democratic socialist. For you, what does it mean?
What it means is we should take a hard look at countries like Denmark, Norway, Finland, other countries around the world, which have achieved some enormous gains for the middle class and working families of these countries. We are the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all of our people. The only major country that doesn't have paid family and medical leave, sick time for our workers, paid vacation time. Many countries around the world make sure that their young people can get free public college and free tuition at public colleges and universities. We have far more income and wealth disparity than most major countries on earth. And while we have seen in recent years, Charlie, a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, we continue to have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. These are some of the areas that I think we've got to focus on.
Does it mean a lot more involvement of the government in our lives?
What it does mean is that we are going to ask the wealthiest people in this country who are doing phenomenally well, many large corporations that are making billions of dollars in profits and not paying a nickel in taxes, to in fact start paying their fair share of taxes, so that we do not continue to see the disappearance of the middle class, do not continue to see 45 million people living in poverty, and bring us a little bit more equality in the country than we currently have.
What does that mean to make the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share? Would that mean taxing the wealthiest Americans at 90%?
No,
as you
I don't think you have to go up to
suggested
90%. But you can remember that under people like Dwight David Eisenhower, we had a tax system that was far more progressive than it was today. When you
Which
have
was around 90%.
Yeah, I don't know that you have to go there. We will come up with some very specific ideas.
But how can you do that? I mean, you're promising free health care for everybody, college for everybody, paid leave, and you haven't yet said how you're going to pay for it. And you've suggested you would tax the wealthiest Americans at a rate about 90%.
No, I did not suggest that.
Then what would you tax the wealthiest Americans?
This
how
is
would
what
you
we
pay
would
for
do.
This plan?
This is what we would do. If you want tuition-free public colleges and universities, which I believe we will have a tax on Wall Street speculation, which will more than pay for that. We will end the fact that profitable corporations, in some cases in America today, pay zero in federal taxes because they stash their money in the Cayman Islands and in Bermuda.
You want to raise the corporate tax rate?
Whoops.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. By how much would you raise the corporate tax rate?
Because right now you've seen estimates. People are saying the estimate from the Wall Street Journal is $18 trillion.
But what the Wall Street Journal said, and we responded to it, is that that included $15 billion for a national health care program. What they forgot to say is that you would not be paying, and businesses would not be paying for private health insurance. So in other words, right now, if you're paying $12,000 a year for Blue Cross Blue Shield, you would not be paying that. In fact, every study indicates that we pay more per capita for health care than any other nation on earth. We would lower that cost.
That is true. You are calling for a single-payer health care system, but your own state of Vermont tried that in 2011, and the Democratic governor has said, we can't afford it, and so they've rolled it back. Your own state can't even carry it through. How's America going to do it?
Because every other country in the world, in one way or another, does it. I live 100 miles.
Why couldn't Vermont figure it out?
Well, you have to ask the governor for that. I'm not the governor of the state of Vermont. But you can ask the conservative Prime Minister of Canada how they have a single-payer health care system. You can ask every other major country on earth how they guarantee health care to all of their people with far less cost per capita than we do in the United States. You can ask how it is that we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. 1 out of 5 Americans can't even afford the cost of prescription drugs in this country and fill the prescription their doctors write.
There's no disputing what you're talking about. I think what your own Democratic governor, and you're running as a Democrat, encountered in Vermont is that while it was an ideal to give everyone health care for all, the ability of actually paying for it became the real problem. And he didn't want to bust the budget in Vermont.
What we are talking about now, number one, let's be clear. We spend far more per capita on health care than do the people of any other country. 30 million people today have zero health insurance. Millions more are underinsured. No one debates that fact. What the story is how can you create universal health care for every man, woman, and child and do it in a cost-effective way? Other countries do it. The United States of America can do it. Now, I know the private insurance companies don't like this idea. We're going to put them out of business. And the drug companies that are ripping off the American people and charging us the highest prices in the world don't like the idea. Tough luck.
Two things. One, is it time to sort of lay out the specifics that you have in terms of spending priorities as well as tax reform?
Sure.
In terms of what levels you'll be taxing, where the deductions that you will recommend be eliminated, and all of that.
Charlie, the answer is yes. And the answer is we have been in this campaign for 4.5 months, and I haven't been able, we have more information out there, more specifics than I think most other candidates.
We've been talking so much about money. Let's talk a little bit about just your recent fundraising. You had so many people come forward with tiny donations.
Yes.
Why do you think it is? What is appealing to these small, I think it's like $31 is what the average?
$31.21, but who's counting?
But what do you think
they
it
keep
is?
sending.
Right, I mean, these small donations are very different from the, the front runner, which is Hillary Clinton.
Well, look, I have said we don't have a super PAC. All right. I don't want a super PAC. I don't represent the corporate agenda. I don't represent billionaires. I don't want their money. But what we are trying to do is to see whether millions of people are prepared to make modest contributions, $31, to say that, you know what, maybe we will create a government that works for ordinary Americans and not just for the wealthiest people in this country, who today clearly dominate what goes on in Congress. We have a campaign finance system through Citizens United, which is corrupt. And it's undermining American democracy.
Supreme Court decision.
Yes. A 5-4 decision says that billionaires like the Koch brothers can buy the United States government. And I want to overturn that. We want to be dependent on small individual contributors.
You are ahead in Iowa and New Hampshire, but the question has been raised, how do you defeat Hillary Clinton on March 1st, Super Tuesday, in some of those southern states?
Yeah.
Do you have a plan to do that? How would you do it?
We do. We, again, only in this campaign 4.5 months. And initially, we have put a lot of our resources into New Hampshire and Iowa. South Carolina, we're doing more. But we think on Super Tuesday, a lot of states out there, we have a very good chance to win. We now have enough money to put together a strong grassroots organization. We're going to obviously be doing TV and radio, but we are also going to be having a whole lot of folks knocking on doors, one-to-one, talking to people about who I am and what our program is. And I think our program, about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, about creating millions of jobs or rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, dealing with climate change in a significant way will resonate with people all over this country.
We're pleased to have you back to talk about all those
we would love
issues,
to. We'd
by the
love to
way.
have you back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we still got months ahead, right?
Yes, we do.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for being here.